Do you read me over?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Another great week has gone by, and Friday's Eve is upon us once again, or Baby Friday, as I also like to call it. So, but we got a great show put together for you. But before we get started, let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. So this show is brought to you by Primerica. Now, let me ask you all a question. Does anybody here have income or asset protection? What do I mean by that? Well, through insurance, this is how you protect yourself from a loss in the event that something tragic may happen. How many I'm getting to that age where a lot of my colleagues, friends, family members, and people that I know, some people are passing away for whatever reason. And more than often, we hear, "Hey, so and so passed away. Let's pass around. Let's start a GoFundMe." Blah blah blah. Whatever the case may be, and unfortunately, nothing wrong with those people, but they fail to plan, and and set their family up for success. So what does income protection do? You do that through life insurance. What that is that in the event that something tragic may pass, and both of you and your wife depend on that income, on each other's income, in the event of a tragedy, that can actually supplement for some time, that financial loss between that family unit. That's what it does. And the best way to do it is through term life insurance. Okay, there's a lot of universal life, whole, all kind. What's the other one that they've been throwing around? What the other term? Infinite banking. Those are all garbage. Okay, because if you do the math, you end up paying for a lot more and getting much less. Through term insurance, it's like having car insurance. You pay less, but you get a whole lot more. So $500,000 policy, if you're in your 30s and you're a healthy person, you're looking at paying less than $100 for 35 years, guaranteeing that policy for that time with guarantee renewal without having to take a medical test, so a medical exam. So if you're interested, give right there on the show bio. There's a link. Check them out and ask the questions. No commitment, no guarantee. At the most, you get a financial need analysis and a blueprint done, so you get yourself to see where you're at financially. All right. And also, the show is brought to you by Castle Global Services. The Castle Global Services has an array of bunch of products for both residential and commercial business. One of the great products that they currently have right now is if you like to travel, and now that the world is opening up again, they got a great product called Truvi. With this, you get a concierge for hotel. Unlike all the other apps and things that are out there, this place can actually help you setting up visas, getting you entryways to other countries, and somebody that can help you and find better, cheaper stays somewhere around the world. So check them out. It's on the show bio as well. You can go to castleglobalservices.acnibo.com and check them out. And also, this show is brought to you by the Great American Constitution of the United States. So this show is all about amendment, First Amendment, Second Amendment, the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, all that good stuff. So if you like what you hear, stick around and actually subscribe and follow. Help the show analytics. Help me grow the show more than the 4 people I got already following me. Okay, and also this show is brought to you by the VA. Here's a short message from them.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you were exposed to toxic substances while serving in the military, a new law called the PACT Act may make you eligible for additional benefits and care. The PACT Act benefits veterans of the Vietnam era, Gulf War era, and post 9/11 era who were exposed to toxic fumes, burn pits, Agent Orange, radiation, and other environmental hazards. Survivors of toxic exposed veterans and veterans who served in specific countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Southwest Asia are also potentially eligible. Learn more about the PACT Act by going to va.gov/PACT or by calling 1-800-MY-VA-411. We at VA are here for you, and we're ready to get you the care and benefits you've earned and deserve. I'm Mike Richmond.
Hey, and now is the time, in regards to that PAC Act and everything from the VA. Everybody here, I'll say this on the show each and every time, but everybody should be running to VA advocate office, whether it's a veteran service officer through the county or the city, or at the VA office, or the DAV, American Legion, so on and so forth. Everybody should be running to one of those personnel to help you apply, because right now because of this PAC tag, it has opened a lot of doors for a lot of folks, including those from the Vietnam era who got they were we basically forgot about those folks, and those folks, they deserve their benefits as well. But they're very, it's a lot of people and a lot of friends are getting, they're 100%. They're finally getting compensated for a lot of things that they weren't able to in the past, or they were denied as well. So please do yourself the justice, and start your benefits claim, because it's all retroactive. Okay, so enough about that. So today, my buddy Jason was supposed to come on the show. He may pop in here later on. We hope, I hope that he does. But I'll tell you a little bit about him. Jason and I, we worked together at our last unit at 11th Marines. So shout out to the Cannon Cockers right there in Las Pulgas, Camp Pendleton, California. No, it's a very demanding unit, and I mean, very strictly demanding when it comes to Motor T piece of, for Motor T standpoint. And if there's any more Motor T bubbles in the house listening to the show, please feel free to pop in on the show, throw in the comments. I'll bring, we could chit chat a little bit about it. But nonetheless, yeah, it was a very demanding unit. What do I mean is that, how these folks from artillery units, I mean, they make their money is training and going out to the field. I mean, I w- you know, I, and I was in a fobbit, like like some people like to call it, or in the rear with the gear type of guy. But I got my fair share of freaking field time when I was at 11th Marines. I mean, it was insane the amount of times we used to go to the field. Um, and major big exercises, and anything from Steel Night to I think they brought back Colonel Glitz, but all the other, and it was at least 3 or 4 major evolutions, and we were there for weeks at a time with our piece of equipment, and this gear used to get beat up. I mean, extremely beat up, from moving stuff and equipment, beans, bullets, band-aids from point A to point B, and personnel. I mean, we used to take these Marines all over the place, and they would just beat the living crap out of the equipment. So the maintenance cycle and how we work on this equipment, again, from a maintainer, myself, a retired maintainer of this equipment, uh, this equipment used to just get used and abused, and a lot of times it would just piss me off, because me as a regimental commander's right hand man in regards to equipment and maintenance and logistics. We had all these other commanders, and he would say, "Hey, how's our readiness looking?" And with our equipment, oh yeah. And then these other folks would just sit there and just blatantly bullshit and lie to the CO right then and there. And I mean, I would just, my job was to be that litmus paper and basically call bullshit, when it's bullshit. Um, which a lot of those commanders didn't like it. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but again, as his advisor, there were times I had to say, sir, no disrespect, but that is not true. That is incorrect. Your readiness is here, blah blah. And this is what it looks like, blah blah blah. So it was very frustrating because I kind of again I was the commander's right hand person when it came to all that stuff, but it didn't build the the bridges weren't built that strong with the commanders. But again, I wasn't there to make friends. I was there to make sure that my boss stayed out of jail and that his readiness was always up. So I used to lean a lot um, on those other commands and their warrant officers or um, chief warrant officer twos that sat at those seats. And I used to lean a lot on them. So it's behind the curtains when when you look when I look back, I mean it was just a lot of politicking. Even though I was leaning, those guys were junior to me. So for those of you who aren't familiar with military structure or rank, whoever's listening to the show, it's not as easy that you could just tell somebody, hey, do this, do that. We have this unwritten rules called the one bar rule. So yeah, maybe a chief one, a three. My buddy Scott Gilman, who's been on the show, he's a five. Uh, yeah, he outranks me technically, but I never called him sir. I mean, even with lieutenants, the one bar rule, stands. And sometimes as warrant officers, that's extended to captains and majors, where hey, they would just call me by then. I used to go by Frank. Hey Frank, don't call me sir. Blah blah. Whatever. I'm like, hey, Roger that, Mike, Bill, whatever. But I mean, they were still in the hot seat as the boss. So what I'm getting at is that there's a lot of politicking, and you're advocating because when you're an officer, especially as a SME, which is a warrant officer in those ranks, you politic a lot and advocate for your community. I was advocating for the more transport, not only as a whole, but in that unit, for advocating for my equipment to make sure it got into that maintenance cycle. Because nothing can move shoot a, nothing can move from point A to point B if the gear if all the equipment was down. So it was very important to maintain that equipment, and it was just frustrating a lot of the times when I had that commander leaning on me, hey, WTF, where's my equipment, this and that. And it's like, well, sir, I couldn't, well, I wanted to say it, but like, hey, sir, it's all in the maintenance cycle, whatever. And in the meantime, I'm pressing on all my other contacts at the other units saying, hey, your shit is not in the maintenance cycle, or it's been too long. What are you doing to get these parts? Who are you calling? Whatever, because the bottom line is that these people need to go practice in the event that God forbid something does happen, like it already has. I mean, in the last, this whole war on terrorism and all the other things that going on around the world, you know, nobody, we haven't invented teleporting or flying vehicles, trucks or whatever the shit. So yeah, you can fly the equipment in, but then after that, how the fuck is everything going to get moved? You need rolling stock, things with wheels. Okay, track vehicles can only go so far. They are limited. So, you need, track limit vehicles have their own um, capabilities and uses, but it has also its limitations, just like our equipment did as well. It had its own, capabilities as well as limitations. So the whole point is that in that big puzzle, that when you're going out there to, enemy land or wherever the next conflict takes you, you need every piece of the puzzle to make shit happen. Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. So, and to associate it to something, even here in the United States, um, even in the Marine Corps, we were having a shortage on equipment operators. You know, aside from we can sit here and I'm not trying to politicize this show or this topic or the whole show as it is, because hey, I understand that I got listeners from both ends of the spectrum, and that's fine, because hey, this show is all about that. We have different opinions and so forth. However, even in the military, we were having a shortage or difficulty, and me as a former recruiter for the Marine Corps, you know having vehicle operators was very difficult. Shit, up until we got the new 7 tons or MTVRs, the new seven ton payload equipment that we have. Um, the MTVR, motor transfer variant replacement, is what that stands for. It's just a fancy name for, hey, this is a replacement truck. It's fancier and it's quicker and it's got all kinds of bells and whistles. But I mean, we couldn't even find people that knew how to drive fucking stick shift. I mean, that's how bad shit is. anyways, but the point I'm trying to make is that we were having a shortage we had the rolling stock, but we're just having difficulties finding able bodies and personnel to operate this equipment. And there is and to tie it all to in now times, and it for a while we've had a deficit on vehicle operators. There's plenty of jobs in technology and that's out there. But we are having issues finding operators to the point that there's a lot of people from other countries, Lithuania, Russia. There's a lot of vehicle operators from out in the industry now who are coming from other countries. They're getting their licenses here and jumping into the logistics community and industry because of the simple fact that hey, we are having a shortage. So if nobody's going to fill in the jobs in here in house, somebody else from somewhere else is got to fill that gap. Just like a lot of people complain. Well, there's a lot of people, Hispanic people in kitchens, and I know in California it was like, oh, there's a lot of Mexicans and so on and so forth, and this and that. I mean, hey, look, bottom line is that somebody's got to fill those jobs. If you're not going to do them, somebody's going to do. There's somebody out there wanting to do that job. So to bring it back to, in regards to what we're talking about logistics is that look, young people are not. It's in for whatever reason. There's a deficit not just in um, in the logistics industry or the trucking industry, but also and I saw it firsthand in the construction industry. There's masons. They're having all those industries are suffering because yes, while technology is great, not not taking away from it, and we have to progress as a whole. There is no, there's a huge shortage on all these blue, what we call quote unquote blue collar jobs, and and those folks in those industries are aging. I mean, that's such is life. However, very few people are jumping into that. So all these young folks that are jumping in, I mean, they're jumping in at a prime time, and I mean, they're pretty much making really good money because of the simple fact that you know there's a lot of demand, but not enough supply. So when that happens, we just see and we see it all the time. When the best way I can relate is with the housing industry. That there's a lot of and not that it creates a bubble because you know job is a job is a job, and the world everything is powered and I hate to break it to you to those of you who think green and all that good stuff, and again not politicizing the show, but absolutely everything that moves things from point A to point B is powered by diesel. Hell, even the electricity that's supplied to this house, it's supplied by turbines and diesel engines that somewhere else it makes it here. So you know we need we need that infrastructure because again as a former tactician and how things work, when you want to cripple a country that you're invading, and you can see it during the Desert Shield, Desert Storm. You can see it in the war on terrorism when we went into Iraq all over again. It was done in Afghanistan, and then you could just go back pretty much, in Vietnam. First thing that you do, hey, you want to cripple them? Well, you shoot down all the communication towers. They can't talk. Okay. Then you start, shooting all the bridges down. That way they can't transport their weapons and whatever else to attack us. So you start hitting those infrastructures, and transportation and logistics is a huge infrastructure for just about for any country. I mean, and even then back in the past, back in the day, I mean, shoot, they use horses and drawn carriages and everything. So, as a matter of fact, Jason is here. Let's bring my dude onto the show. He was able to make it. What's going on, motor skater?
Oh, not much. Just finishing a hard day of work, driving truck.
Yeah,
But there ain't
exactly.
it ain't motor skating now though.
No, I was telling them that you belong to a part of a huge infrastructure that not only the U.S. but it's part of anywhere in the world. I mean, we need logistics. We need guys like such as yourself, moving stuff from point A to point B, to that way people can eat. The three B's: beans, bullets, and band-aids. I mean, I know in the Marine Corps you did that. How was that transition when you were doing all that? Um, now doing it in the private sector.
Well, I mean, the transition, the actual hands-on part of the job it was really no different. I mean, you go from driving tactical vehicles to driving commercial vehicles. It's, I mean, if you had an LVS license and you had the 870, it's no different, Big thing in that was you ain't got a ground guide, especially if you're a one-man guy, you know. But the thing that's always kind of got me, and even to this day, is like the civilian world does not work the same as the Marine Corps does. The military does, you just kind of like, sometimes you just want to like pull all your hair out because you can't believe how things are done, you know? So and you can't tell civilians where to go, how to do it. Can't tell big time trucking companies, the owners and whatnot, how to run things because they think they know everything, but they get by, you know? So yeah, the hands-on was a piece of cake, but just the interaction with the civilian people is a lot different.
Now, I was just talking, telling the listeners that there is a shortage of vehicle operators currently in the U.S. Um, how has that impacted you? Increasing your workload. In the type of work that you're doing now.
Well, I think where the shortage is is more so in the long haul, cross country type stuff. A lot of I mean, and I've never done the cross country. I did regional dedicated where I'd start here in Spokane and go to Plankinton, South Dakota, which is 310 miles east into South Dakota, drop one trailer, pick up another trailer, turn and burn, and head right back. So, and it's a big company, but at the same time, it's small. Small companies doing big things is what it was with them. But yeah, I mean, you see it. These big time carriers, Swift, CRST. What are some of the other ones? May Trucking. I mean, they're so huge, and accidents are gonna happen. You know what I mean? But part of the reason why, like, there's so many accidents is because they are so huge, and they just don't have enough, like, legitly qualified people to operate these tractor trailers. You see it all the time. Just you're like, how in the hell did that dude get a CDL? How did he pass his CDL exam? He can't even put a trailer in the dock, at a 45-degree angle, and he's got the whole yard, So, yeah, it's just
I know
so.
when I got my CDL, I let it lapse about 2 years ago when I ended up going to overseas to do that government contract. But I know that because there is a shortage of, because young people are, everybody's going to tech. I mean, not on the logistics side. I mean, people in the mason, I saw it in construction, masons, welders, all those jobs are not sexy. Everybody's going into tech and all that stuff. So somebody's got to fill in that gap some way, somehow. So I did see a lot of people, people, Lithuanians, Europeans, Russians, even Koreans and such, filling in these trucking jobs. So I have seen an influx and increase people, people coming outside of the U.S., to fill in those gaps. I mean,
Right,
rightly so. How do you
right.
feel?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and it, that's all that. A lot of that is that the foreign countries mindset idea of the United States of America. We're the the land of opportunity. We're the land of the big PX, and they come here, and if our, and they work hard to make their money just like everybody else. And if the US dollar is worth more than, what their national country is, and then they send it home and they're actually really able to support their family back home and save up and bring the rest of their family. I mean, I'm all for it. I have I got no problems with immigration and, foreigners coming to do the work in this country. Because American people are ignorant. American people are too good for certain jobs. Take, for example, I worked for an egg production company, chicken farms. I did everything for that company, logistic wise, aside from haul chicken shit. And when I say everything, I mean, I hauled chicken feed from the feed mill out to the farms. I hauled live chickens from the pullet farm, the baby chicken farm, to the big layer farms. I hauled dead chickens, when the house was done. Once they reached their lifespan and they killed them off, you could take them to either a rendering plant or a landfill. I did that. I delivered eggs. I did all of that. And I did that because I bettered myself. I got that CDL, so I had to do it. But if there was no other job that I could get, if you don't think I would have been in one of those layer houses shoveling chicken shit, think again. And that's, I'm not above it, but that's where the American people are. They are above certain jobs, And so you see, all the immigrants, the chicken farms I worked for, 98, 99% of the employees that, were working at the farm itself were Hispanic of some degree,
Right.
Whatever Hispanic country they came from. So, and even now, most of the guys that I work with, well, I would say half of the guys that I work with now are Hispanic of some nature. Whether, one guy, he's from Panama, one guy's from Guatemala, we get a couple of guys from Mexico, So, and they're the ones, they're beating and banging and pounding and repairing and building those shipping pallets. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think as a whole, I don't think, I think they feel it everywhere else. Again, people are going into, again, tech is fine, but at the end of the day, you need people in those infrastructures like logistics, moving stuff from point A to point B,
Right.
Because in the end, everything as, and I'm not trying to politicize this show or my platform as a whole. However, you can go green all you want, but at the end of the day, I mean, you've seen the memes on Facebook, you see the Teslas, and somebody's hauling a freaking gas power generator with the vehicles. So the bottom line is that everything that moves this country around, and every other country outside of here, has got a fucking diesel engine on it. Is the bottom line. I
Right.
mean, even turbines, electrical turbines that produce power, they run on diesel. So there is a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think 100% electric is the way to go, not yet, right now. And that's where I kind of feel like right now, this country, these states, because I'm in one of those go green states, 2035, we're not going to be selling any, you can't purchase, and register anything, 2035 and newer unless it's an electric vehicle. It's not, they're putting the cart before the horse. I'm not saying we can't get there, but I think that the deadline is a little too soon.
I
And
think so
then
too. I mean, again, there is a need for biofuel. And what I mean by that, by diesel, I'm sorry, oil as a whole, gasoline, there's still going to be a need for it. Bottom line, I think I think to me, like you
well,
said,
even in those electric cars, that you need petroleum-based products for lubrication for all your mechanical parts. So it's not going away, you know.
Right.
So, you know. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you something. Kind of switching gears a little bit.
Okay.
I know we used to bullshit a lot while we were in the Marine Corps, you know, and mess around and bullshit when we're in the field. You, myself, Bunnell, and everybody else in the crew. But do you ever miss it sometimes?
I do. I truly do. I mean, and like I don't miss the Marine Corps, you know, per
Yeah, yeah.
se, but I miss the Marines. You know, I miss those field ops. You know, and I got to thinking about this morning, and there was one time, and tell me if you remember this, but like me and Sergeant Klug and Sergeant Nagel were like just destroying a Marine for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And I think maybe it was Los because he like was drunk and like, you know, he had the range run and he, you know, he shouldn't have done it. But he took the Marines to the rifle range and he came back and we could smell the shit on him. And like we were just destroying him. And then like later on, Master Guns comes out and he's like, Staff Sergeant, like, you got to calm down. You got to like think how that Marine feels. Like, you ever think about giving him a hug, you know, type thing? Like, you chew his ass, that's fine, but you got to give him a hug afterwards, right? And like, okay, whatever, Master Guns. All right, I Master Guns. Roger that, Master Guns. Well, then I don't know. It was like a week or two later. 511 was trying to roll like a 7-ton or an LVS tire out the front gate and down the steps to put it into one of and it like got away from him and it rolled down the hill and it hit his son's car because he was driving his son's car at the time and it put a dent in the left front fender.
Oh, I
And
remember.
we're like, and he was so pissed and he was smoking those Marines. He was chewing their asses. But like when he walked away, I asked him like, Master Guns,
Did you give?
why didn't you give that Marine a hug? You know, I mean, it's like I thought about that this morning and I just started dying, you know what I mean? Because like, oh, it's things like that, you know what I mean? It's things like, I mean, it pisses you off to no regard, but like when you know, you come out of the field for while you're in a field, you know, like a training a field op, you know what I mean? But you come out of the field because Motor T, you know, you get to do that. You know, you get to go back to the rear to pick up supplies and whatnot, and you try to and you hook your Marines up, and you're like, okay, look, you got 1 hour. I'm giving you 1 hour. You go to the barracks, take a shower, go to the chow hall, go to
Rub one
McDonald's,
off.
go to PS. I don't care, whatever it is you want to do, but you're not leaving the camp. That includes you, married Marines. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to get a piece, you know, you better call your wife and tell her to meet you in the barracks. And one of you other Marines better hook them up type thing. You know what I mean? But you always got that one that decides that, no, he's going to go to main side and hit up McDonald's. And when all the Marines are back and you're doing a gear check, there's one Marine that doesn't have his NVGs because he left them in the main side McDonald's. You know?
Oh my God.
It's like, it's things like that. You know what I mean? Like, those are the kind of things that I miss. I miss the, you know, sitting around, the bullshitting.
Yep.
I mean, don't get it wrong. Like, I mean, there's times when, like, I miss getting an ass chewing from a first sergeant or a sergeant major because a Marine did something wrong, you know? And you're like, Staff Sergeant, why did this Marine get a DUI? I don't know, Sergeant Major, you tell me. Why did he get a fucking DUI? You know? Like, yeah. So it's, yeah.
I mean,
But like I said,
huh?
But like I said, I don't miss the Marine Corps itself and all the BS. You know what I mean? So, but I do miss the Marines. I do.
I think for me is same thing. 100%. I agree with you on everything that you said. On retrospect, not more. You know, I reminisce and I find myself now. I guess you know I'm going almost 10, next year. It'll be 10 years that I've been out. Like, oh yeah, you know, cool. I miss it. Blah blah. This and that. But more nostalgia. But when I first got out, I think it was like, oh man, yeah, hoorah, fucking miss it, whatever. But then there will be that one person that will post some shit on social media like, oh, got recalled in on the weekend because Lance Corporal Bull, dipshit, got a DUI
Mhm.
last night. So we're all
Right,
called
right,
in on a Saturday. I'm like,
right.
that's why I got the fuck out.
That's why. Yeah, exactly. I remember like seeing that. I think McKay had posted something like that while he was in Okinawa, because
Oh,
I think when he left 11th Marines, he went to
yeah,
Okinawa,
he did. Even.
and yeah, his unit got put on lockdown because of some shit like that,
Yeah, and it's things like that. I was like, oh yes, nah, I remember.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, hey, thanks for popping in, man. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that you were able to just tell us a little bit of the inside of your time, and as well as into your industry. We'll for sure next time we'll bring you back, so that way we can
Right.
schedule it a little bit more better.
Yeah.
And that way we can just bullshit like we used to back in the day, man.
Right. 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 Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Sorry I
Thanks.
couldn't get here like as soon as I could, but
It's all good. You made it safe home, and that's what's important, man. Thanks for your service, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for yours.
All right, take care.
Hurrah. Hurrah. Kill.
Hoorah, kill, get some.
Hurrah.
All right, everybody. Well, that was Mr. Binder right there, formerly known as Staff Sergeant Binder. This dude right here was I truly mean it when he was my right hand man, and he used to make shit happen at 11th Marine. So thank God for him, because a lot of times, I mean, I I could have gotten in a lot of trouble just slaying Marines, but he was also the sanity, the voice of sanity a lot of the times, and I mean, and my sounding board for a lot of things. So thanks for showing up on the show, man. Hey, just before we wrap up, if you've been ruminating or just thoughts bothering you, getting at you because of whatever reason you got going on, hey, I'm here to tell you that, and I say this also to myself, is everything is temporary. You know, life problems are temporary. Your bad relationship is temporary. Depression, anxiety, all those things, they come and go. Reach out to somebody, reach out to us in the show, reach out to a buddy, reach out to the VA, TRICARE, Military One Source. There's plenty of other resources out there, but the bottom line is that nobody here wants you to take your life, commit suicide, because it leaves people like ourselves who care and want you here asking the question as to what else could we have done better, and what was going through your head at that time. So all I'm saying is that reach out to us on the show. But anyways, that's our show for today, everybody. We'll see you next week. I just want to say, hoorah, get some Istamas, Daisuki, bark, bark, woof, woof, and all that good shit. But we're Index, and I am out of here, baby. Pow!